can feel it coming in the air tonight, oh Lord. And I've been waiting for this moment for all my life, oh Lord, oh Lord.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the America's Got Talent podcast, AGT Cast. I'm Cody Patterson. I'm here with Cody Mims.
Greetings.
And we're here to talk about the Week 3 live show, the quarterfinals of the live shows. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through the Week 3 live show. We're also going to talk about the results that happened Thursday night. And we have some additional stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. So we got a full podcast that we're going to do. We're going to review our picks from the off week. We picked who we'd like to see go through to the finals. I'm sorry, to the semifinals. And then we also did a top 5 of who we thought would go through to the actual finals. So we want to review all that and see what came of our last week of quarterfinals and where our picks still stand. Then we're going to look at the next 2 weeks of who is in the semifinals and how well we think they're going to do, and maybe we have some new picks. If our board got completely wiped out, like mine almost did, then maybe we have some new picks. And then finally, we're going to kind of have a little fun and look at what would we do if we were in charge of AGT. How would we run things? Would we change up the way that it's done? Would we do it in the wintertime? You know, whatever our imagination can come to, that's what we're going to talk about last. So to get started, we're going to break right into the live shows and just go through each act and kind of see what we thought. Overall, what'd you think of this show?
It did not, my expectations were pretty low, and, well, I guess it met my expectations. I wasn't very thrilled by it. Even the acts I was super excited to see were only okay, so, yeah, I wasn't too hot on this one, but it just gets us one step closer to the next round.
Yeah, my expectations were low on this one as well. I think what we talked about in our last podcast was that the week 2 was the most stacked week of quarterfinals, and this one was probably next to that one, with week 1 kind of be the weakest of the 3 weeks. And so my expectations weren't very low. It was kind of like, okay, we got some good ones coming in, but I think for me it kind of went above and beyond what my expectations were. I thought we had some acts that really came out and did a really good job this week.
Okay, well, I'm interested to hear what you liked the most.
Thanks. I'm interested in what you liked as well. Before we get going into the acts, did you kind of notice what Mel B had on? What was this fuzzy thing that she had over her shoulder?
Oh, yeah, the giant tail.
Yeah. We're going to get into it later, but Blake Voigt said his big thing is allergies. He's got all these allergies. Do you think he might have been allergic to her little tail that she had
Yeah.
draped over her shoulder?
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't do so well.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. So our first act was Velo Vahar. And Velo wants to be a big fish in the Pacific Ocean. What do you think of that?
I think he's very cute. He doesn't... There was an act a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, who pretty much went to the finals just because he wanted it so bad. And I don't think Velo's quite up to that level, but yeah, I would describe his appearance tonight as charming. I thought he was a cute pirate, and yeah, I liked his ambition, but I understand the buzzer, let's say.
Yeah, so Simon kind of gave him the buzzer because he felt he'd seen kind of the same thing each week. It didn't really have anything new.
Yeah, I didn't think it was really that impressive. It was kind of worse than I thought it would be. He seemed to really stumble on that ending and just sort of give up, so I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed that too, that he was having trouble climbing those ropes. Now, one thing he did do different is he traded in his turban for a scarf.
Yeah,
So he did kind of change up his wardrobe, even though he didn't change up his act.
Uh-huh. I did like the pirate setting of it too. Like the whole thing, I thought, was a good way to present it. Sometimes you just sort of have to pick a random theme, and I think pirate is a good one to choose. So I like that, but he sort of just climbed some stairs. I don't know if he really thought through the mechanics of the act that much.
Yeah, I like the pirate theme as well. It was different, but it didn't do a lot for me. But it was kind of nice to see him be a pirate for a night.
Yeah.
Now, my prediction for him was that he would not go through to the next round. Did you have any prediction for him, or did you give him any votes at all?
No, I didn't vote for him.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Velo?
No, I think I made a quick list when I was hanging out in the Reddit Discord on results night, but I don't totally remember what my predictions were. But Velo is definitely not in them. Also, just a recommendation to anyone who watches the show live. If you want to jump in that Discord chat, it's very addicting. Just laying that out there. But yeah, Velo is not a high point.
Okay. Well, our next act of the night was Ronnie Martin. She sang "Lean on Me" by Bill Withers. This is a favorite song of mine. It's kind of a classic from the 70s and the 80s. She's done a really good job with the 70s and 80s kind of R&B music. What did you think of Ronnie?
I thought this arrangement kind of left her voice just sort of hanging out there. I feel like they didn't really go together well, but I don't know. Everybody else really seemed to like it. I wasn't super into it. I didn't like the song that much. I mean, her style's just not for me, plain and simple. That's all it is. But yeah, I was really surprised that she didn't go through.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. I was wanting her to go through. That was my prediction that she would go through. I really enjoyed this. I think she's just done a great job with the 70s and 80s song. I know the singing acts are very stacked, and we'll talk about all the singing acts later on. But it's a lot of competition. But she's kind of found her niche in the 70s and 80s R&B genre. So again, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm surprised she didn't win Judge's Choice, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about Ronnie?
Well, like you said, she is just going by Ronnie now, so I guess that's one of her stage name changes.
That is true. I did kind of notice that she was going by Ronnie instead of Ronnie Martin. I didn't really kind of put it together that is what she's going by, but I did notice that they were just calling her Ronnie.
Yeah.
So, okay. Our next act was Caden Bart Rocket. Kind of had an act where he had the judges put handcuffs on him, and then he went and hid in a little box, and then his sister got revenge from the very first act and slid some chainsaws through the box to try to get back at him for that, and then he reappeared out of a toolbox. What'd you think of Caden?
I would say this was probably his worst performance in my eyes, but I am very glad that he was here tonight. I'm glad he got to this round because his intro was so cute, and I hope him and his sister are really having fun up there, and it's nice to see them. And this performance, I would say, sort of made their past performances look even better to me, in more ways than one, not just because this one was worse, but I sort of get their whole style now and their sort of cute kidness. I don't know. They convince me in that area. But magic-wise, I feel like something went wrong because the chainsaw stack like sort of stopped before he got there. It didn't seem like that was supposed to happen. I don't know if he took too long or whatever. I guess he wasn't really in there at that point. But yeah. I've been watching some Penn and Teller Fool Us because reading about it got me all interested, and I don't think he would go very far on that show.
No, you're right. He wouldn't get very far. They'd have that act figured out very quickly. I'm with you. I think that this is his worst performance. The first performance was probably the best, and it's just kind of, I think the kid factor is kind of set in now. The cuteness is there. Him and his sister are very cute together. The package at the beginning was great. But as far as magic acts going, at this point with the quarterfinals, there's other magic acts that are way better than this. The Clairvoyant, Stephen Brundage, John Dornbos, those are all much better. I think they're still getting the cute kid vote.
Yeah.
From America. So
he doesn't have a chance at the finals.
He does not have a chance at the finals, no. I know in the past the judges have told kids, you're great, you're doing a good job, but we don't see you as a Vegas act. I'm not really seeing them say that this year.
That's true.
And I would be disappointed if they allowed the kids to keep going through and moving on. They get to the semifinal round, get to the final round, and then tell them, you're not a Vegas act. If you're going to say that, tell them early. Don't let it get this far when there's other acts that could be going through, and B, you're kind of, I know they're having fun and you want them to do well, but if you don't think they're ready for a Vegas show, they've got to be told that earlier.
Yeah, well, they shut Nathan down real quick. Nathan Boxar, the kid comedian, didn't make it past judges' cut, so I don't know. I guess they saw something in Caden. There's probably more kids than usual still in the round by this point this year. Also, I think, there's been some speculation that Caden's dad has a really big hand in building all of his magic tricks, so I don't think he's completely on his own with his sister.
Yeah, I've been reading that as well. I think the people are saying that the dad is the one actually designing the tricks and coming up with the ideas. Now, it wouldn't, obviously the dad would be the one that would build it, kind of like with Sophie Dossie. The dad actually builds the set, but there are people that think that the dad is actually coming up with the magic ideas and not the kids.
Yeah, does he have any history of being a magician or whatever?
I think they say in the package that the dad was a magician, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I've at least heard that.
So he might be kind of doing his dad's tricks, but at a kid level.
Yeah, I can see that.
Going back to earlier, you kind of mentioned maybe something went wrong. I also noticed, even from the beginning, he had to start over his act. He kind of He started the intro, then he paused, and then he had to restart. And then at the end, it seemed like there was an issue with the music. So just even the production value just didn't seem like it was quite right. I don't think it was all him. I think some of it was probably production from AGT, but something was off during his act.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they practice cueing him in from a commercial break, but yeah, he did mess up at the beginning.
Yeah. My prediction for him is that he would not go through to the next round. Did you have any prediction, or did you vote, or?
Didn't vote for him. I would say because tonight was generally pretty weak, in my opinion, that he had a chance. Now I honestly don't even remember if he did or not. I'm pretty sure he didn't, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Caden?
That chainsaw stack that they had made me laugh. It looked like something out of a video game, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it does look like something kind of kids would put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our next act of the night was Lincoln Bridge. They sang "Always on My Mind" by Willie Nelson. "Always on My Mind" is a classic song. What did you think of Lincoln Bridge?
I gotta agree with Simon. I thought this was a bad song choice. It went with their story, right? It was about somebody that they had lost before.
Yeah, I believe one of them had a brother that they lost.
Yeah, so I've always seen them as a very genuine act. I think, this was a genuine song that they really felt, and not something that was just like doing it to add in their story or whatever. But I don't think musically this worked very well for them. But, they did end up going through, so if they keep picking songs that really resonate in their hearts, that could give them an advantage over musicality, because I don't think musicality is very good at that. So that's something to watch out for. But I didn't really like this Lincoln Bridge performance. I didn't vote for him.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the right song choice for them either. Even from the beginning, I didn't think it was the right song choice. The songs that they've picked before had been more uplifting with Over the Rainbow. This one just it didn't feel right. Willie Nelson's a classic country singer, and for these guys to then do an a cappella version of it, it just didn't feel right. And it didn't feel
Right.
right. It didn't seem right for them to do it either. Now, their tonation, all the technical pieces of it were really good, but just the atmosphere of the song just didn't feel right for them.
Right. And we were talking about this earlier. We didn't know what they were going to do, because they always do so much different stuff. And I guess this was sort of underwhelming. I didn't really see this coming, but yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my predictions was that they could pick any song in the history of time and do good at it. Well,
Hmm.
we found one song that just didn't feel right. Um, my prediction was that they would not go through to the next round. Did you give them any votes at all?
I didn't vote for them, but I think, harkening back to what you said before, you said that you could see them winning the dunk and save, and so that pretty much almost came true. So yeah, I figured they'd be right on the bubble there also.
Our next group is Ala and Daniel. I think in their package, someone said, or they said that they're the best mother-son dance team in the world. My question is, how many are there?
Yeah.
They kind of had this Cuba theme going. I couldn't quite make out the dance style they were doing, but it was probably some sort of salsa dance or samba dance. They danced to Cake by the Ocean by DNCE, which is probably just pronounced as dance. What'd you think of Ala and Daniel?
Yeah, well, first of all, weird choice for a mother and son duo to do that song. Um, Ignoring that, yeah, I put them last on my list of who I thought would go through, and I think they pretty much delivered on that prediction. They didn't really do anything different, but still, I was really surprised that Howie buzzed them, and it didn't stop there.
Yeah, it didn't. The song choice didn't feel right to me either, especially when they were dancing, to a Cuban style dance. It just didn't. Something just wasn't right there. And then Howie gave them the buzzer because he felt that they had kind of done the same dance over and over. He said this is the third time they've seen him. He's done the finger through the hair type thing, which I did notice that he did, and he did it multiple times during the performance. Um, and then I think Simon said that Daniel should fire his mom. Well, personally, I would fire Daniel and keep the mom around, but that's just me. Uh, um,
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy this. It was fun to watch the dancing part, but with that song choice, just didn't seem right.
Yeah, Howie was so absurdly mad about this. I think he was really more upset than I've ever seen him. He's just said, this is 3 strikes, you're out. And then after all of that, in the recap episode, it showed that he went up and asked the audience if he was right and whatever. And then he tweeted 14 red X emojis, hashtag AGT.
Yeah, that does seem a little over the top, especially when we've seen some of the acts do the same thing over and over and over again, like Sophie Dossie and
Right.
Velo. We just see them do the same thing over, but then they don't say anything. But he picked on Ala and Daniel for some reason.
Right. It was pretty hypocritical. I was reading about this on Reddit. Friend of the show, Oinkers12, posited the theory that maybe the judges had picked them over an act that Howie had really liked, so that may have been why he was so harsh. But yeah, who knew? Who would have guessed that an act like this would heat up the judges' table that much?
Yeah, I know. But for some reason, I had on my prediction that they would go through to the next round. Did you happen to give them any votes?
No, I didn't vote for them or see them going through. Did you see that as a sympathy vote or what?
Yeah, maybe just the kid thing again, that America
Okay.
loves kids and kids with moms, that type stuff. I think in our preview and prediction, I didn't think that they would go far because America would start seeing them as, okay, something's just, as this act goes through the years that it just becomes a little creepy. It was a 12 and 13-year-old dancing with his mom. But,
Yeah.
for some reason that night when I saw that, I was like, America is probably, I've been disappointed in America before, and America would just uh, throw me one that says, yeah, we're going to send another kid through. So for some reason, I just thought that would happen.
Yeah. Well, it's a safe choice to vote on disappointment.
Yeah. Our next act is Blake Voigt. Now, we've only seen him one time, and that was in Judges' Cuts. I would like to see his audition because he's, apparently a decent magician. This time he did something with birds, even though he's allergic to pretty much everything. But he had the judges pick a card out of an egg. It seemed like a really weird magic act. What did you think of Blake?
Um, I was disappointed, I guess. Magicians really, really need to stop doing the whole "that would have been cool" thing. I have no idea why that's a trend this year, but it needs to stop because it doesn't make them look good and it's annoying. I thought this presentation wasn't streamlined enough. He shouldn't have grabbed the card. It was just sort of childish, and that's where a lot of people are speculating that the real sleight of hand happened. And also, the director should have put the camera on the girl who said Blue Jay when he did the reveal, but that's probably not his choice. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one. It was kind of confusing and not that impressive. What did you think?
I'm always weary about audience participation type stuff. When you say, "Hey, I need an audience member, raise your hand," and we don't know each other and we've never met. I'm weary. I put on my tinfoil hat when all that happens.
Right.
I think there was a Fool List that's Penn and Teller's Fool List where the guy did it differently, and I'm trying to remember how he did it. Oh, he just threw something into the audience and had someone catch it.
Oh, with the beach ball?
This one wasn't a beach ball; it was like a bear.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he threw something in the audience in a general direction, and you have to be really good at throwing it to get it right at the person you want it to go to. So I mean, I'm a little less skeptical about that. But this one was, hey, raise your hand. Oh yeah, let me pick you type thing. And then give me a bird and pick a bird that everybody knows instead of a random bird. What bird would you pick?
A crow or something?
A
I
crow
don't
or
know.
something, yeah. I think eagle was the first thing that came to my mind, but
Okay.
um, you get these just regular generic type birds. I noticed also that he grabbed the card instead of letting Heidi show it to him.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if that's bad presentation or if that is actually how he needed to do the trick, but either way, it's not good.
Yeah, and what are the odds that he picks the girls and the girls are going to pick Queen of Diamonds or Queen of Hearts?
Yeah, I don't know. That very well could have been just magical predictions because I think I don't know. I think I've read somewhere that a Queen of Hearts is the most likely card that women will pick, but yeah, there was still some choosing going on there. So I don't know how he did it. I mean, that's really the main thing. Like you can hear us trying to figure out every element of it. There was just too much going on, in my opinion.
Yeah. My prediction was he would not go through the next round. Did you give Blake any votes?
I didn't vote for him, but yeah, he had a lot of hype coming into this with the hardcore audience, so I don't know if that would carry him through or not.
Yeah, his Judges' Cuts act, I felt was better than this act.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Our next group is Edgar. They sang "You've Got a Friend" by James Taylor, another famous song. They did a great job tonight of playing a lot of songs that I just knew off the top of my head. They've sung songs before that I've had to go look up or had Shazam, but it's great that they actually sang a lot of well-known songs this time. I think that really helped some of the singing acts. What'd you think of Edgar?
This was the nice surprise of the night for me. I liked their song choice. I thought they had really smooth solos, and they lit my fire.
Well, that's just fitting considering they did a campfire scene.
Yeah.
I like this one too. I think this was their best performance since the audition.
Yeah.
They did get a standing ovation from all the judges. Again, it's a singing group, so it's pretty competitive category out there. I did have them going through to the next round.
Okay.
Did you vote for them?
I did. I gave them 2 votes. Overall, I really enjoyed it. The one thing I will say is that they seem to be concealing the daughter. She's singing in this, right? Are they all playing guitar? I'm not really sure what their dynamic is.
I think they all sing, and the dad plays the guitar.
Okay.
So I think, and I can never remember her name, but I think the mom is the lead singer, and then the daughter kind of comes in, and then the dad is kind of the backup singer with the guitar.
Yeah. I mean, they've gotten some feedback like that before, right? That the mom is clearly the best one, and I don't know how much they had the girl singing before, but they seem to be pulling back on her solos.
Yeah, the mom is the star of the show. She's the one that's already had a music career. Yeah, she's got I'm not gonna say the most. Well, I guess she does have the most talent. She's got the most experience, so she is the lead. And then the daughter is supposed to be kind of the co-star with her, and the dad's there just to play backup and have the harmony voice.
Yeah, I thought his voice sounded good too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this song. I think they did a pretty good job. There's people out there that are not real impressed with them. They just stand up there and just kind of go through the motions. But as far as just singing, if you're at a campfire, then they do a really good job at singing it, that type stuff.
Yeah, I mean they're a family band. They're a simple group, whatever. There was another family band act that was on a little while ago who did these total banjo laden arrangements of these popular songs, and it was way more like blown out and country like this. But I really prefer to pull it back a little bit, and they do sound just like people at a campfire. That's a good observation and a good connection for them to make.
Mm-hmm. Our next act was Julia Scotti, and I thought it was kind of funny. She came out to Bad to the Bone.
Yeah.
What did you think of Julia?
Pretty much what I always think. She's talented, but not really my brand of humor. So I didn't vote for her, but I do wish that she had gone through, I guess.
Yeah, I really like Julia. She was my number one pick in our prediction podcast a couple weeks ago. It finally occurred to me who she reminds me of as I was listening to this particular performance, and I think she really reminds me of Lewis Black.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I don't know who that is.
You don't, okay. Well, he's a comedian. He's been around a long time. He does a lot of political humor, but it's much better political humor than Lori Mae Hernandez does. He's really, really funny, and kind of her mannerisms and the way she tells a joke and the way she kind of yells and screams, it really reminded me of the way he does his comedy, and I think that's one reason I might really enjoy her.
Yeah.
It also occurred to me that they only get about 90 seconds to do this, and comedy is really hard to do in 90 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. I have no idea what the rules are on that whole 90 seconds thing, because I'm almost positive Caden would have gone over it and things like that. So, I don't know if they extend that for the later rounds or who gets what time or what. But I'm sure it is a challenge. They don't have an opening comedy act or anything like that. So it's got to be one of the toughest settings for a comedian since they made him perform to an empty audience in Vegas week.
Yeah, that is true. I think I remember when they had to do that. They had to perform to an empty audience, and that's really hard because comedians really work off the crowd. And she was getting a lot of laughs, so it's not like I can't remember his name from Judges Cuts that just didn't get any laughs at all. It was just completely silent. But it's really hard for them to set up jokes. She was doing a really good job at trying to tell a story. Comedians like Lori Mae Hernandez and Nathan Bachstaller, they kind of just do one-liners. They do real quick sentences and then move on. But her kind of humor is just, like Howie would say, telling a story. And that story has to have a lot of build-up to get to the punchline.
Yeah.
So I don't think that hurt her, in my opinion. I think she did a real good job at containing all that, but apparently America didn't think so. I definitely had her moving on, but we will get into that later on.
Yeah. This was that was a devastating result for a couple of reasons, which we will talk about.
Our next performer was Brian Justin Crumb. He sang "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins, another well-known song. What'd you think of Brian Justin Crumb?
I thought his stage was really cool. It reminded me of Daft Punk a little bit. I don't really get this song. I know the basic, subject matter of what it's about, but I'm not really sure like what it's trying to say or whatever. Basically, I'm not too familiar with it, but I don't really think that Brian gets it either. He said that after his performance, he said before the commercial, like it's just about having everything you've ever wanted or whatever. So I thought this was a really weird choice, and I don't think it worked very well for him.
It's good that you caught that because I didn't catch that at all. I was more just paying attention to the song itself, and I thought it was a very good song choice for him. I thought he represented it very well. To me, I think he was the best singer of the night. His range just seems really wide. He can kind of like Lincoln Bridge. I think he can pick any song and sing it, but he's kind of trying to keep to a certain theme based on his past.
Yeah. I think Simon tried to take credit for whatever choices he made for this, which is always annoying to me.
Yeah, I must have missed that. What was it he said? Do you have that?
No, I just wrote down, why does Simon have to take credit for everything?
Oh yeah, well, that's just Simon. I think even during American Idol he would take credit for everything.
Yeah, and he does it in like sort of a joking way, but not really. That whole segment in the result show of him ranking the judges, I think, is sort of a similar thing. It's just he's not a good presence on this season of the show for me.
Okay, I think I tuned back in this season because I heard he was coming back, and I kind of wanted to see how he does. I didn't watch American Idol primarily because of him, because I couldn't stand his antics and the way he treated people on that show. So I was real curious how he would do on America's Got Talent, and I've been entertained by it. I'll say I can't say I'm pleased with everything he does, but as far as the entertainment value, I've been okay with it.
Okay.
I did have Brian Justin Crumb going through the next round. Did you happen to give him any votes?
No, I didn't, but I was pretty sure he would go through.
Okay. Our next group that we had was the Passing Zone. They did a NASA theme, which really pleases me because I'm a big NASA fan. I like space, really into that. So I would love to kind of see the judges dressed up in astronaut suits and hanging from a wire. This is an act that they've done before. They did it in season 1 in the finals. They just updated the theme, but it was pretty much the same act. What did you think of the Passing Zone?
Yeah, I loved the NASA theme that they did. I thought they did a wonderful presentation of the judges, and it was so awkward and silly. And I don't know if it qualifies as juggling, but it was enjoyable. And this was the act that I liked most of the night. But looking back, I can't get as excited for it. I don't have as strong of an opinion of it. There was a little bit of controversy over them having already done this act, but yeah, I'm not sure that matters that much. But in the moment, seeing it on a live show, I thought it was very fun. It could be good in a full Vegas show. I think it's hard to say they know what they're doing now, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to them as well. I was excited to kind of see what they were going to do, and to pull this act back out really pleased me. I saw the clip from when they did it in season 1, and to now see it updated was a little exciting. But like you said, now that we've had a chance to kind of reflect on it going back, it doesn't look like it was that good to begin with.
Right. So. They're comedy jugglers, so there's that aspect of it also.
That is true. They are comedy jugglers, and to leave Howie hanging up there at the end, that was really funny.
Yeah.
But the degree of difficulty, if we kind of went back to the Olympics comparison here, the degree of difficulty on this act seems much lower than the degree of difficulty they did when they had Howie on the floor and they were juggling a taser above his head.
Yeah, absolutely. This sort of reminds me of an act that was on, I think, last year, who was a magician named Derek Hughes, and he would do these sort of like blown out, crazy, weird magic tricks. And then for one of the last rounds, I think it was semifinals, he did this thing where he was like reading a bedtime story to his kids, and basically he just tore pages out of a book, and then they all went back together. And it was very simple and not really as hard as the stuff he had done before, but everybody really loved it because it showed range, to quote Howard, I think. So, yeah. I think it was a similar thing, but obviously it did not work as well.
Yeah. Nick said that this is the best thing he's seen on this show. Apparently he didn't see season 1.
Yeah.
I, of course, had them going through that night just because I love the passing zone. They were one of my favorites to go on. I think I had them as possibly winning this whole thing. That's something else we'll talk about later on when we get to the results. So, anything else you want to say about the passing zone?
I figured they would go through also. My votes for them were sort of conflicted, though. There was no satisfying ending. It was a weird thing. It was an awkward performance. But, yeah, I thought they would go through, too. I was pretty surprised by that result.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, and we'll get into the results and what we thought of the result in a little bit.
Yeah.
Next, we had Grace Vanderwall.
I would say yay, because she did another original. That was my reaction when she first did the intro, and she said she was going to do that. I was excited for that.
Yeah, she looked nervous, and I think we talked about that in one of our previous podcasts. That it's been 2 months since we've seen her performance on the auditions, and much longer since she's actually been in front of an AGT crowd. Now, I don't know if she's just naturally nervous in front of a crowd. Some people are just shy, but they still perform anyway. So since we know very little about her, I'm not sure if that's her natural tendency or if she actually was nervous being in front of 40 million people.
Yeah, I think she was pretty nervous, but honestly, I think it added to the performance because at the end, the camera got really close up on her face, and you could sort of just see the breath that she took as the song was over, and she realized, what she had just done and how many people are there. And I thought that was kind of cool. It made me realize exactly what all of these people are doing, and she's up there doing it. So little experience, such a young age. So that was a cool aspect of it.
One thing I have written down here is, do you think the hype is too big for Grace, or do you think it's right on par for what it should be? I mean, she's got a huge following on Twitter. She comes out. We haven't seen her in so long. Do you think the hype is real? Do you think it's actually the way that it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't know if her fans, watch her videos every day or if they just get gleeful asking her questions on Twitter, but I'm not sure I really share the hype. I guess, if you feel like you found the next Taylor Swift, then that's something to be excited about. But it's hard to say how big she's going to get, and I personally am not that excited for her, so I can't say I share the same thing. I mean, I guess the act I'm most excited for this year is Tapeface, and I haven't watched any of his previous performances on other things just because I don't want to spoil myself on it. So I guess it's sort of a similar thing there, although he is more established already. So I don't know. I think really she could win the whole thing. So I think her hype is pretty real.
Okay. I, of course, had her going on to the next round just because everybody loves Grace. Everybody wants to see her move on and possibly win this whole thing. Did you give her any votes?
I didn't, but I did see her going to the next round. Talking about the actual song, it was an original song, but I thought it sure didn't sound like it. I think this song musically was quite a bit weaker than her first one, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. Howie saw it afterwards, and he was super excited. I think we've reached peak Howie Mandel for him to see his golden buzzer up there completely rocking the stage. So, that's certainly one way to look at it. But I wasn't a fan of this performance, I think.
Okay, and our next performance is Malivo, which they so graciously told us Malivo means renegade.
Yeah, they are the Outlaws.
That's right, they are the Outlaws. Is that Outlaws with a Z?
Yeah.
So are they the Outlaws traveling back in time as older men now?
Oh my gosh. That'd be wild.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? And they moved to Argentina, learned Spanish, learned to do the bolo, and then traveled back in time as 30-year-old men.
Yeah.
What did you think of Malivo?
I think they did a good job of bringing their act to a stage this big. They used the whole stage. They ramped up to this production value pretty well. But I think it sort of detracted from the performance that the music was so loud and you couldn't hear their drums at all. I thought that kind of defeated the purpose. But seeing how excited everyone was as soon as they were done, I was like, they're definitely going through.
Yeah, everyone seemed to really like this act. I still am not a big fan of this. I don't feel it translates well on TV. I noticed that I could not hear the drums. I could not hear their foot stomps. I could not hear the bolos hitting the ground. All I heard was the music, and so it didn't feel like they were doing anything because all I heard was their music and they were dancing to it. And part of the show is the foot stomps and the beats of the drum. That's what adds to it.
Yeah, I share the same view. I mean, they're good, but this just isn't something that gets me up in the morning, so I didn't vote for them.
Are you happy they finally got a Twitter handle?
Oh, did they?
Yes, they are now at Malivo OK.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So not Malivo great, not Malivo awesome, just Malivo OK.
Maybe they moved to Oklahoma.
Maybe they did. You're right. So you saw them going through, but you didn't give them any votes.
Yeah, and I was really confident they would go through, especially because it was sort of a weeknight, but they ended up being the Duncan save, which we'll talk about.
So that's all we have for the live show, and now we're going to get into the results of the show. And of course, we had Michael Phelps, the hero swimmer, Michael Phelps, grace us with his presence on the show. Were you happy to see Michael Phelps?
No, I don't understand what he does.
He swims. That's what he does. He swims really, really fast.
So he's an Olympic swimmer, right? Or he was.
Yeah.
So that means he couldn't do it professionally. Is that correct?
He does do it professionally. The Olympics do allow professionals in. One of the big things back in the 90s was when they finally allowed NBA players to play in the Olympics. Before then, it just had to be amateurs. You could not have any sponsorships or professional status. But pretty much everyone that goes to the Olympics, especially from America, are professionals in some sort of manner. They have, I'm not going to say all of them do, but most of them do. They'll have a sponsorship. They're not allowed to mention their sponsorship while they're at the Olympics, but they pretty much do compete professionally.
Okay. So he was kind of just chilling, fresh off his 23rd gold. I don't think he added to the show that much, but yeah, he was there. NBC likes to pimp the Olympics, so.
Yeah, it would have been much better if he'd actually brought all 23 golds with him and let each person in the performance wear a gold medal. That would have really added something to it.
Yeah, I heard somebody else speculate that he would do a Professor Splash thing too, so you weren't the only one who brought that up.
That would have been great if he'd done a Professor Splash thing.
Yeah.
Well, we started off the show with our Dunkin' save, our Dunkin' Donuts Dunkin' save, and so there were two of the acts in there that I kind of predicted that would be, or actually just one of the acts, that would be in the Dunkin' save this week. And we had Lincoln Bridge, Malivo, and Ronnie. What did you think of these three acts being in the Dunkin' save?
First of all, I was amazed because my mom, as soon as they got ready to announce the dunk and save, said all of those three names, and she got it exactly right. So that was interesting.
Good for her.
I didn't vote in this one because I wasn't very thrilled about any of these acts. So, yeah, it was interesting. Early numbers had Malivo out on top. I guess was sort of predictable.
Yeah, that was a little predictable. A lot of people, I'm gonna say, really likes Malivo, and it was a little surprising to kind of see them and Ronnie Martin in there. Lincoln Bridge, I felt was kind of a dunk and save type act, but Malivo and Ronnie Martin, a little surprising. They were right there in the middle, and we'll come back to that when we get through all the other acts of how the dunk and save came about, or the results of the dunk and save.
Yeah.
The first group that we had come forward was Alla and Daniel and Caden Bart Rocket. And when you saw this, what did you immediately think?
I thought out of these two, I hope it's Caden, and I thought it would be Caden.
Out of these two, I actually thought they would pull the neither of you were going through.
Yeah, maybe so. To prep us for the both, that's always the second result.
Yep. And guess what we get in the next one? So we had Grace Vanderwall and Brian Justin Crum.
Yeah. Also, just to go over it, Caden did win that last result.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry, we didn't cover that. Caden did win that. They also put the kids up against each other kind of in that first elimination.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so you had Daniel against Caden in that elimination group, and then Caden went on to move to the next round.
Yeah.
So then our next group is Grace Vanderwall and Brian Justin Crum.
Yeah, I really wanted Brian out of this especially, but I figured it would be both of them. I've brought the both into my prediction vocabulary, so yeah.
Yeah, I was a little shocked to kind of see them together, but then when we got the result, I was like, well, that makes sense. And so I watched this online, so I don't actually get to see the show when it's live. And when I pulled it up on the NBC website, this group was what was showed to me as the little preview screen. So it had Grace Vanderwall and Brian Justin Crum, and when I first saw that, I'm like, well, great. Now that's going to be hard to kind of pick, see who goes through. But then once again, they pulled the both of you are going through trick. They like doing this. Really nice to kind of see both of them go through. I think it was Brian that said that he didn't anticipate the both of them going through. I don't know why. If he's watched the show ever, then he knows that they do this. So
yeah, well, I mean, if you're going up against Grace, that's got to strike fear into your heart.
that is true. She's kind of the go-to favorite this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, both of them went through on that. So our next group was Julia Scotti, Velo, and Edgar.
Yes. Also, before this, there was the recycled percussion performance, which is not really anything interesting. So if you skipped over that on purpose, then I'm cool with that.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that for a moment. I think I remember recycled percussion from way back when they were. I tried to look exactly what year or what season they were on. I think it was just real early, and I remember them. And I think I really enjoyed it when they were on the show.
Yeah, I actually don't remember them. I have never seen and I don't think I saw the season that they were on. But this was not a very percussion heavy performance. And were they using recycled stuff even?
They do. They use normal everyday materials, so they use trash cans or buckets, but they also use power tools. If you notice, one of the guys was using it was either a saw or a sander to make the sparks.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they don't use just not really recycled materials. I think the meaning behind recycled percussion is that they take everyday materials and then they use them in their show, and that's the recycled part of it.
Okay.
Not that they go and get recycled material from waste management and then put it in their show. So yeah, the buckets and trash cans and that type stuff is what they use to kind of make their sounds.
Okay.
They also, I think, use a guitar just to kind of add in normal music. So it was nice to kind of see them again because I hadn't seen them in so long. But
it would be interesting if they had done a parody of Malivo with recycled things.
that would be funny with recycled things as the bolos.
Yeah.
I think I read that they do have their own Vegas act right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So now we have Julia Scotti, Velo Vaher, and Edgar.
Yeah, I wanted Edgar, and I figured it would be Edgar out of these three, as good as Julia is.
Okay, this is about where I turned the show off.
Really?
Yeah, this is about where I started having flashbacks to season 7.
Oh no.
Yeah, because when I saw that Julia Scotti did not get to go through to the next round, I almost flipped my lid.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew Velo wouldn't go through. He had problems. People still don't get his act. It is kind of the same act, so I figured it would be between Julia and Edgar. But when Edgar got the vote by America, I was like, that's it. I almost said I'm done because I still think she's one of the better acts. I don't think she's going to win it, but I think she's one of the best acts. I had her as my number 1 pick going into the semifinals.
Yeah. I feel like her humor is not really for everyone, but I would still figure it would be more mainstream than Tape Face. But I don't know. I guess people just really don't like it. She did a lot of screaming in this performance, which I guess turns people off. So there's that whole thing to it.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier that's when it started reminding me that she's Lewis Black, is that screaming
Yeah.
comedy, and I really enjoy that. Lewis Black's a big comedian; he's very famous. A lot of people really enjoy his comedy, but maybe it's just America that watches America's Got Talent doesn't enjoy her comedy,
Yeah.
and then for her to get put through, or for her not to get put through, and then Lori Mae Hernandez gets put through, that's what almost just set me off.
Yeah. That's the most terrifying thing about all of this, or the most depressing thing. Lori is now the only stand-up comedian in the competition. And usually we have some pretty strong ones going into semifinals, but man, next week is going to be interesting.
Yeah, when I came down from Lori Mae Hernandez getting put through the next round, I was like, okay, now we get to see her up against Julia Scotti, and we even talked, and you mentioned Julia
Yeah.
Scotti's gonna blow her away, and I was like, I hope so. Well, now we don't even get to see that. My only hope, 21 acts have been put through, which is an odd number for 2 shows. So my only hope is that they bring back 1 or 3 wild cards for the semifinals.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't think about it being 3.
Yes. Well, it's just some sort of odd number. 3 would put it at 24, which would then be 12 in each show, and then I guess they narrow it down to 10 at that point, and then down to 5. I think that's how they do it.
Okay.
Um, so my only hope is that the judges look at this and be like, okay, we've got to bring Julia back as another stand-up comedian.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. But all the judges like Lori, so
Yeah. And also, it a little upset me. I was like, great, this is another singing act, and we'll get into how many singing acts we now have in the semifinals.
yeah. I mean, people are, talking about bringing Julia back and bringing the passing zone back. You're not the only one, and part of me thinks the judges might reach a little bit deeper in their pockets since those are both so recent. But you're right. There's a very good argument for them to bring back Julia.
Yeah, you mentioned the passing zone, which is our next group if we're finished talking about Julia. Now that
Yeah.
my blood pressure's kind of peaked, I need to let it calm down a little bit, but it's not likely with us talking about the passing zone next. So the next group we have is passing zone and Blake Voigt. And we'd already had the where both of them go through, so I didn't think that was going to happen this time. But I was really thinking that the passing zone would be sent through. Instead, we got Blake Voigt.
Yeah. I also thought it would be the passing zone. I didn't realize people liked Blake's that much. So this result really surprised me. This surprised everyone in the Discord channel. Also, it really, I don't know. Most disappointing result, I think.
Yeah, I have mine written in my notes here. This is a huge shocker, giant, enormous upset.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So we're hoping that they bring back Julia and the passing zone. And when we look at the rest of the semifinalists, we can kind of see, okay, what would be another wild card we'd like to see come in to make that an even number.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they would probably draw it from the quarterfinalists to keep it more fair, but yeah. I have another question.
And I got to breathe. Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but in season 1, when the passing zone did this human juggling thing, was that their finale performance?
It was.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think they would have learned from that. That performance did not win them the show. So I don't know why they assumed this to just be a weaker year that they would go through on it. So that seems like a pretty big mistake looking back. But yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying they were playing it safe. Even though they say they're going to do something bigger and more dangerous, that they felt the passing zone actually played it safe this time.
Yeah, the other upsetting element to this is that Simon will not get his comeuppance on this.
No, that's another reason I want to see them go through is I need to see Simon doing something dangerous. He's pretty much sat in his chair. No, he did do the one performance where I can't remember what it was, but he did go up on stage for one performance, and I think it was back in auditions.
Where the woman was like kissing him or whatever?
That's the one, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's something, but I just want to see his life at risk. Is that too much to ask?
No, that's right on par for what you should be asking. Do you have anything else? Oh, now we have the Duncan save.
Okay.
So we go back and we have Lincoln Bridge, Malivo, and Ronnie Martin. And you said you were watching it, and Malivo was kind of getting the votes?
Yeah, they were leading right from the start, I believe. I think they have 44%.
Okay. That's a pretty big percentage for 3 groups.
Yeah.
So they did get the votes from America during the show. So then it went down to Lincoln Bridge and Ronnie Martin for the judges to pick. And we had Mel B that selected Lincoln Bridge, and Howie and Simon also picked Lincoln Bridge. So the first time that we finally get the judges without a tiebreaker.
Yeah. Like Simon, I think, said, the show is about surprises, and I am definitely surprised that he went for Lincoln Bridge.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too. I thought he would pick Ronnie over Lincoln Bridge.
Right. I mean, all the judges seemed so much more excited about her the night before. I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, it was a little surprising.
Yeah. So that happened. Maliva got through. I thought that was fine for a pretty meh night, but I would have preferred the passing zone or Julia, and it kind of boggles my mind that neither of them were even in the top 7.
Okay, so now we're going to go back and look at our predictions that we did during the Olympics break and kind of see how well we did in those predictions based on the actual results. So in my rankings, I had Julia Scotti, and then Brian Justin Crum, Blake Voigt, The Passing Zone, Lincoln Bridge, Ronnie, Grace Vanderwall, Velo Vaher, Ala and Daniel, Caden Part-Rocket, Edgar, and then Malivo. And pretty much my entire top picks got wiped out this week. So Julia got eliminated.
So
my
sad.
1, and my 4, and my 6 all got kicked out this week.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, how did you do?
My number 1 was Grace Vanderwall, who went through. My number 2 was Brian Justin Crum, who went through. My number 3 was The Passing Zone, who did not go through. There was the most discussion about this when I was talking about predictions with some people on Reddit. The Oinkers12, again, did not think The Passing Zone would go through, and it turns out they were correct. So, yeah, it got me there. Blake Voigt, who did go through, Edgar, who went through, Lincoln Bridge, who went through, and Malivo, who went through. So, who did I... Oh, so I didn't predict that Caden Bartrocket would go through, but he actually did.
Okay, good for him. Yeah, my bottom 3, Caden Bartrocket, Edgar, and Malivo, all went through. So I had it completely backwards.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's kind of the story of my life on doing fantasy picks. So, Anything else you want to mention on that?
No, I'm surprised how close I was. I guess is the only thing.
Now, do you still have any of your finalists still in?
So, yes, only one of them performed this round, and it was Grace.
Okay. Yeah, only one of mine performed this round as well, Brian Justin Crumb.
Okay, cool.
So
Cool.
we're still on track for that. Oh, I did have two. I had the passing zone. So I was 50-50 on that.
Oh, were they your number 1 or 5 or what?
I didn't have any particular order.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, on my finals, I didn't have any particular order.
Okay.
I think I've mentioned before, I think the clairvoyance is my favorite act. So if I did have to kind of rank, I would have the clairvoyance number 1. Probably have Tape Face, who's my other pick, number 2. And then Stephen Brundage, I'm going to have to redo it now because Stephen Brundage is in my list, but now I'm missing 2. If Passing Zone and Brian Justin Crumb did get through, so the only one I'm missing is the Passing Zone. So let me kind of reset there. I'd have Clairvoyance 1, Tape Face 2. If Passing Zone was still in, I'd have them 3, Brian Justin Crumb, and then Stephen Brundage would be my top 5 picks.
Okay.
In that particular
Cool.
order. So, anything else you want to talk about on that?
No, but if I can, I'd like to introduce the next segment.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the things that we would change about AGT. This idea came to me from a Reddit post that I saw. I'm not going to single it out, but yeah, it just really got me thinking, and I had some ideas. I wanted to talk about it. America's Got Talent is sort of a reality show that's made for everyone, and it comes with everything that comes with. So you got to kind of love it for what it is. But there are some smallish specific things that I would like to change about it. So we'll talk about that. But what is on your list?
Well, the number one thing that I would do is I would go back to 3 judges.
Okay.
I think just having an even number of judges just doesn't seem right. Supreme Court, we have 9. Pretty much any other time we have a judge situation in the real world, not in entertainment, we typically have an even number of judges. So we don't have a tie. There's always a tiebreaker in some aspect. Just 4 seems just like too many. Again, it's even. It's too many. And then I was mentioning this to somebody and said, "Well, what about 5?" I was like, 5 is just ridiculous. Why would you have 5 judges? So that's just insane. So
yeah, they'd have to spend 11 minutes on the judge's pick instead of 10.
No kidding. They would have to start that at like a quarter till, and in order to allow Howie enough time to figure out which pick he's going to do. So 3 just seems like the right number for me. I think it was 3 for a long time. You said it went to 4 in season 8. So for 7 seasons, it was 3 judges. So that just seems about right. What do you have?
My first thing is I would like them to hold auditions across the country because I think they didn't do that last year, but they are going to do one in Austin this year, I know. So it seems like that will come true. So just a small thing there. One other thing, this isn't really so much about having 3 judges, but I just said get rid of Simon. Or if I can implement my dream scenario, I would replace him with Howard or Pierce, and better still, replace Mel with the other one.
Yeah, I think Simon's the executive producer on the show. Is that right?
Right. That just makes him even more annoying to me.
Yeah, it's his show. I really enjoyed Pierce when he was on. Howard was okay the first season he was on. I think I saw him in his second season and I didn't enjoy it. Pierce I really enjoyed. So I think that's fair. I think that's fair to fire the guy that created the show.
Steve Jobs him.
That's right.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I would say I generally do like the other 3 judges. As weird as their decisions can be sometime, I have grown to respect Mel and Heidi in particular this season. So I do like them, but I would like Howard and Pierce back in there most of all.
Yeah, I really like Howie. I've really liked Howie every season he's been on. There was one season he was real wishy-washy on things. He'd tell somebody one thing one week, and then the next week they would do it, and then he would tell them, "No, I didn't like that. You shouldn't have done that." It was really weird. Um,
Okay.
Mel B and Heidi. I think of the two, I'd probably get rid of Heidi. I think Mel's more entertaining than Heidi.
That's fair.
You mentioned that they should do auditions across country. I think they have done those before.
Yeah, well,
And
that's what I
actually,
was saying. I didn't like that they were getting rid of that, mostly because I want to go and watch one.
okay, so you wanted to go back to that format.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was reading like the rules or something for this season, and I think it said they were all in Hollywood, but I'm not totally sure. So,
Okay. Yeah,
but
I was curious if the what they were going to do next season, 'cause I know they've mentioned different places, and I think for this season they did those different places, but they only did it in front of producers. They didn't do
oh,
a
okay,
show in front of the judges. So I'm with you though. I liked it when they would say, "Hey, this week we're in Dallas. This week we're in Kansas City,"
yeah,
and that made it a little more interesting. Whereas this season, it's like you saw the judges wear the same outfits pretty much every week, and I
right,
would kind of like to see a different environment and allow people to be able to go and perform in their nearest city.
yeah. I want to see Nick posing on landmarks again.
That's right, up on the uh, Gateway Arch in St.
Yeah.
Louis. Yeah.
Is there anything else on your list?
Oh, I do. I have several things on my list.
Okay, are we just gonna alternate?
We can. Yeah, we can just alternate.
Okay.
Uh, the next thing I would do is I would change the format similar to how a dog show does a format. And they group the different breeds into, they group the breeds. So you'll have hound dogs, you'll have working dogs, and you'll have toy dogs, whatever it may be. And they compete against each other. And then the winner of that comes out, and then they compete against all the other breeds for best of show. So I'd kind of like to see AGT kind of go to that similar format, so we don't have 8 singing acts going into the semifinals. And you have one comedian act or you have one magician act, and they just kind of get lost amongst all the singing acts. So I'd kind of like to see, early on, maybe they do all the auditions, and then they take the best acts from the auditions, and then after that, they then group all the magicians together, and they group all the danger acts together, and they group all the singing acts together. And then I realize you can't whittle 50 singing acts down to one, and then maybe 10 magician acts down to one. So maybe all the singing acts compete to get down to one, but then the danger act and the variety act and magicians, maybe they kind of do a tournament style thing, and they kind of whittle down that way. It's a little vague and a little confusing about what I'm saying, but I think it would kind of help this issue we're seeing, especially this season, where we have one not so popular comedian act. I mean, unpopular is not the word. Controversial comedian act in the semifinals, when we now don't have a good comedian act in the semifinals, because that comedian act had to compete against other acts that were not her category. And now we have 8 singing acts in the semifinals.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't think anyone would really get too mad about that. It might help to please everyone, but at the same time, I just feel like the frustrations with how America votes just can't really be controlled by rules that much, because I don't know, it's a democratic process, and part of me wants to preserve that, but some grouping would be nice. One of the things on my list is to bring back the old Vegas Week style, and something that they did in there was they had the people in each category perform together, and I don't know if they chose them based on those groups, but it did help to sort of see them together, and I think that really went with the spirit of, we need to get serious about this now and figure out who really should be in this competition. So I would appreciate some of that being in the judges' hands, again.
Okay, yeah, I'd forgotten that they kind of did that Vegas week where they still kind of grouped some acts together. I'd forgotten that. That's been a while.
Yeah, I hate the way they do judges' cuts now because I think round 2 is just too early to be arbitrarily dividing the acts into random groups.
Yes. Yes. And you're saying that this juggling act is better than that dancing act.
Yeah,
I want to say this juggling act is better than that juggling act, and this dancing act is better than that dancing act.
yeah. I mean, it's basically like a live show, but not live at this point, so it's kind of disappointing. It helps their ratings, though, I would imagine, because of the guest judges, so I would think that that's why they do it, so it's kind of upsetting.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Sorry. That's all I had on that.
Yeah, okay. It seems like things are pretty much going to be the same next season. All the judges are coming back, so I'm not too hopeful that any of this is going to happen, but I think it's worth addressing since we've never really talked about this on the show before.
Yeah. Do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, a small one, I would get rid of the "You've Earned It" segment because that product placement is just really weird. It's that thing they do in the auditions where they do the flashbacks. I don't think anybody really cares. The Duncan Lounge has a certain appeal, but I don't know if that really does, so I would get rid of that. You have anything to say about that simple thing?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
Kind of go with that though. I think they should get rid of the recaps to kind of save some time on the show. You said you watched a recap show before the results show,
Yes.
which pretty much recapped Tuesday night's show.
Yeah, it was basically Tuesday night show, but without the intro packages and all the things bringing it together. They just went through it really fast.
Okay, and I'm okay with that. I think if they want to do a recap show, then that's fine. But then when the results show started, well, guess what they did? They did more recaps.
Yeah.
So in case some of us didn't watch the recap show and we didn't watch the actual performances, well, here's your little 10-minute package of all the performances.
Yeah. I kind of like those because they're edited really well and you can sometimes see more interesting things that you wouldn't have before. But yeah, it is kind of redundant. And I think if they're really trying to save time, there's probably other things they could cut.
Yeah, so if they even narrowed that down, because it was 10 minutes into the show before Nick came on and said, "Welcome to America's Got Talent." 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we've talked about before, and I know this is a huge pet peeve of yours. They get to the end, and they, the judge or if it's America's Vote or whatever it is, says, "Okay, you're going through," and then they just cut the show off.
Yeah, the credits are rolling as they're deciding sometimes.
Yes, and they don't have a moment to say, "Hey, are you excited that Howie picked you to go through, or
Right.
or what? Are you excited to be on the next show or whatever?" Just none of that. They're always pressing for time. So if they cut down that recap that they just did for a whole hour, then it would kind of open up more things that they could do. And maybe that would even allow another 30 seconds or so. They could do 2 minutes per act instead of 90 seconds. Yeah. Julia may have some time to actually set up her joke so that people can get the punchline.
Yeah. And something else I saw online this week that I had never really thought about was someone mentioned they never talked to the losers. And I didn't think about that either, but that would be an interesting thing to throw in the results show.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting because that's actually what I posted. That was my post on there.
Oh, okay.
And,
really?
Yeah, and I've got that next in my notes is, why don't they talk to the loser? Why don't they talk to the passing zone and say, or Julie and say, "Man, that was amazing that you're not going through. What do you think?" Or, what are you going to do next? Or, just 30 seconds to the loser, just to kind of see what their thoughts are at that point. Nope, they just walk off the stage. See ya, you don't exist anymore. So we'll see you in the finale when they were doing the group performance.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the results show could just be reduced to a Facebook post, but it's clear that there are things that they're doing wrong.
Yeah, I think a lot of my stuff was kind of results show oriented.
Okay.
Hey, we have all this time, but you're wasting it showing us the stuff that we've already seen twice.
Yeah, that's fair. Something else I would say about time saving, the next thing on my list is show the full audition of every act that gets a yes, and cut the judges' backstage antics if there's not enough time. So I think it's important that we really see all the yeses. I mean, obviously the judges say yes to too many things, but we have an act going into the semifinals this year whose audition we never saw. So I think it is important just to cover them all, even if the producers don't predict them going very far.
Yeah, do we know if Blake Voigt's audition is available anywhere? I mean, I haven't looked on YouTube or on NBC or anything. Do you happen to know?
Oh, that's a good question. I would imagine it would be, but yeah, I haven't looked either.
Okay. But yeah, that's, they're wasting a lot of time with Howie playing with a balloon or whatever it may be backstage when they could be showing more acts and yeses.
Right.
I know that things like the Duncan Save and the Duncan Lounge, they're trying to get sponsors and whatnot, but it seems like the producers are not doing time management very well.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? I've exhausted my list. Do you have anything else?
Oh, okay. Yeah, my next thing was say the last result at least 10 minutes before the show is over. Maybe that's extreme, but yeah, I would like more discussion about it. Just more things going on about what actually happened.
Okay.
The next thing on my list is get rid of voting by phone. The reason for this is I think it's sort of antiquated and annoying. I would imagine at this point it's no one's primary way of voting, and the only reason you do it is if you want to max out your votes and make sure they count enough. But voting in the app is so much easier, and I wish it would just be reduced to that. Even though I guess people might complain if they don't have internet access, but I feel like it's just a step that should be taken at this point.
Yeah, AGT may know what their part of their audience is, and part of their audience might be baby boomers who don't know how to use apps or text or vote on Twitter or anything of that nature. So
Yeah.
I think we're probably still a few years away from eliminating the phone call thing.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, that's probably a great thing to kind of. It's great that they have multiple media available, right? Because can you only vote by calling, or can you
No,
text in?
Calling is one, voting through the app is one, voting on the website is one. I usually don't do that because I don't realize that it's different from using the app. And there's another one that I can't remember. It's something weird. They used to do it by text too, but they don't do that anymore.
So they do have multi-medium available that people can vote through, not just through calling.
Yeah, but it's annoying if you want to really make your votes count as much as possible. This week I actually didn't vote by phone because I wasn't that passionate about anything, so I just used the app. Because every single vote you have to call in for and then wait for Nick to tell you it's been counted, and yeah.
So just a lot of time there.
Yeah, it's just some minor complaint, I guess.
Okay. What else you got?
I would bring back the original Golden Buzzer style. Right now, the Golden Buzzer is sort of just a ratings grab, and it's a way for the judges to really get behind someone and pick who they think is going to win. But before, I don't remember exactly how it works, but a judge could just use it to save an act that was going to otherwise go home. And I don't know, it was more of like a tense thing, I guess. It was some good drama, but also it just makes sense. Like, that's the only reason there should be anything like that, is to save an act that otherwise would be in desperate need of it.
Yeah, I think this is something we've talked about on previous podcasts, and I posed the question of, do you think the Golden Buzzer is for the good acts we want to see go ahead and move on, or an act that may not move on but we want to see more of? And it seems like you're in favor of the, hey, I'm not sure about this act, but I want to secure their spot.
Yes.
This would be the Dorothy Williams rule?
Yeah, I suppose. But it used to be that's all you could use it for. So I wish it was like that again.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
The only reason I could think is that it probably throws off how many people are going to be in each round. It's been a while, so I don't really remember how it worked, but I think it's probably easier to predict there's 5 of them in all the auditions, and then 1 per judge's cut episode. So that could be a reason that they did it also.
Okay. I can see that. That would kind of secure a spot for. I mean, so your Grace Vanderwalls would not have possibly been in a live show.
Yeah. Well, if I was a judge, I would not give her a buzzer because she would go through anyway.
She would be secured a spot just based on votes anyway.
Yeah. Well, I guess that is an advantage too. They have more time to prepare for the live show.
Right.
So
Yep.
so that's something. I mean, I guess it makes sense to use it, on those acts in a way because they probably have more of a shot at winning the whole competition. So, I guess you're making me come around on this angle.
Oh, I'm not trying to turn you one way or another. I'm just asking questions here.
Yeah, I know.
I think you have a good point of using it to secure a spot for an act that may not make it that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have 2 more things. One is be more transparent about acts leaving the competition off screen. I hate that most of the viewers of the show will just, not know what happened to certain acts or forget about them because they just disappear and they don't say why. Even if they don't say why, I think they should televise the list of who is gone.
Like 11 play?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
Still hoping they come back. So
Keep hoping.
that would be an interesting wild card choice, skipping 3 rounds of the show.
Yes. We know that you just did an audition, but welcome to the finals.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, so my last thing is limit guest performances to acts that have previously been on the show, and ideally even have them be judged again afterwards. Maybe
So
not judged as in harshly critiqued, but,
Yeah.
Give the judges a chance to say, hey, you're back, hello.
Yeah, that would be great to see, like when we just had Recycled Percussion come in. Hey, it's great to see you guys again. We haven't seen you since season 3 or whatever it was they were here, and welcome back.
Yeah.
And what are you guys doing these days? Type thing.
Yeah, so I think it would be, it would be something that everybody would like to see if it was people that have already been on the show.
So you wouldn't have wanted to see the singer that sang with Illuminate.
Yeah, I don't care about them.
Okay. I think that's
But
fair.
if it was someone like, I don't know, Michael Grimm, or just any random singer who had been on the show before, of course it wouldn't be Michael Grimm, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, would they have to have won the show or been in the finals, or could it have been?
No, just like Recycled Percussion didn't, right? And we had Fighting Gravity, so just really anyone noteworthy that people would probably remember.
Okay. Yeah. I think that'd
There's
be
so
fun.
many people to pick from. It's like they should just. I wish they would stick to that.
Yeah, and doesn't pretty much AGT still hold a relationship with all these groups? Some form of
Yeah,
fashion?
pretty much.
It's like we're still sending you checks every year, so
That's true.
we're still sending you checks for the next 15 years. So we'd like for you to come on and do a performance.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you want, we can start looking at the acts for the semifinals.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. This episode is so long. I hope people like that.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
we're now on our longest episode ever.
Yeah.
We've just got so much packed into this one.
Oh my god! Now I'm worried I won't be able to publish it because of our storage limitations. But I'll figure something out.
Maybe you can break it up,
Right.
and
Yeah.
do 2 different episodes or something.
Yeah.
So
It's fun though. I like it.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to start looking at the semifinals. And we have 2 weeks of semifinals, and right now we have 21 acts. So, as we mentioned earlier, we can only hope that either 1 or 3 wild cards come back. And they've already posted the semifinals week 1, which is Grace Vanderwall, Sal, Laura Baton, Malivo, Musicality, Lori Mae Hernandez, Blake Voigt, Deadly Games, John Dornboss, Edgar, and Tapeface. What do you think of that group?
There's certainly some acts that I'm looking forward to. Um, some people are saying it's terribly stacked. I don't really agree. Um, Blake, he did go straight through, but it's hard to see him as that strong. Deadly Games, I'm very excited to see again, but they were pretty close to being eliminated. Edgar is fine. Grace is, of course, a powerhouse. John, I don't think he's the best magician that we have. Laura is a golden buzzer, but how much does this opera really appeal to people when you put her in the context of everything we have? Lawyer May Hernandez, very controversial. Musicality, they're fine. Sal was on the bubble last time. And then Tape Face, of course, is something everyone's really looking forward to, I think.
Okay. So I've kind of looked at this here, and we have 11 acts in week 1 and 10 acts in week 2. So if they bring in a wild card and they placed it in week 1, what would be your wild card that you would bring in to put in week 1?
If Deadly Games had gotten out, I would say them, but I'm glad they're back in. Probably the Passing Zone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that'd be a good pick. And then I think we have 5 maybe get picked out of this for the finals. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that that's correct. And if anyone's out there wants to listen or is listening to us and wants to fact check that, please let us know. But hypothetically, say we get to pick 5 out of this group. What are the 5 that you'd want to see go on to the finals? So are there any of your 5 picks in this group?
Yes. Okay, so Grace is my number 1 prediction. Tape Face is my number 3, and that's all. That's all from this group.
That's all from this group. Okay, so say you had to pick 3 more from this group. Who would you move on to the finals?
Are we predicting or saying what we would most
who,
like?
Who you would like to see in the finals from this group?
I would say Deadly Games.
Okay.
Sal.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
And I would probably pick Blake because let's give him another chance. Why not?
So you'd pick Blake over the Passing Zone as your wild. If you had Passing Zone in there as your wild card.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, Passing Zone, sure.
Okay, so you'd have you already have Grace and Tape Face, so you'd pick Deadly Games, Sal, and the Passing Zone. I think those are good picks.
Yeah.
I think that would be some really good finals with those 5 in there. Okay, so for week 2, that'd leave us the Clairvoyants, Victor Key, Stephen Brundage, Sophie Dawsey, Callista Bevier, Katie Lynn, Jana Brown, Lincoln Bridge, Caden Bart Rocket, and Brian Justin Crum. And so I'm guessing, who are the other acts that you have in this list going on?
Callista, Steven, and the Clairvoyants.
Okay. So if they pick 3 wild cards to come into this round, who are the other 2 that you would want to bring into the semifinals?
I am inclined to say Julia.
Okay. I know she's not one of your favorites.
Yeah, well, I just don't have as good of a recollection of who we've lost that is really significant.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Do you have some picks in mind?
No, Julia's who I would also pick to move on. So let me ask, would you pick Flip?
Probably not. Their return didn't get me that excited.
Would you give Ryan Stock and Amber Lynn another chance?
Oh, yeah. I would
Okay.
do that.
You would do that? Okay. Over maybe Throw Wings?
I would say those 2 would probably be my choice.
So you would do Throw Wings and Ryan Stock and Amber Lynn. Those would be your 2 wild cards.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I'd pick Julia, and I'd probably give Ryan Stock and Amber Lynn another chance.
Okay.
I think they have some potential. I think they made one mistake, and he's got a big resume of dangerous stuff. So I would give him another opportunity.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting choice.
Okay, so if we kind of look at that, we now have so many singers. Okay, we have, if I did this right, we have 10 singers in the semifinals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have 5 magicians. I'm considering Tapeface a comedian. Would you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have then 2 comedians, 1 stand-up, and then we have 3 variety acts and 1 dancing group.
Okay.
So do you think that kind of represents America's Got Talent, or do you feel it's too skewed in one
Um,
direction? Or give me kind of your thoughts on this.
I mean, we'll see how many singers go through. You know, if it's more than 5, I'll be very sad. But I don't know how this really compares. Obviously, singers are the biggest group, but they have some tough competition, I think. So it'll be interesting to see them all battle it out. I think there are some clear winners in the non-singing category. Tapeface and the Clairvoyants, I think, have it in the bag, but, we'll see.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty safe with Tapeface and the Clairvoyants, as long as they don't just come out and just totally bomb it. They should be they should be put through the finals very easily.
Yeah.
Singers we have, singers, of course, the favorites in there are Sal and Grace and Brian Justin Crumb. Edgar's probably towards the bottom. Lincoln Bridge is probably towards the bottom, and Katie Lynn. So I think we've got a pretty good mix. Looking at it, I think there's too many singers personally, but if you look at everything as a whole, I think we're still missing a comedian in Julia. And I think we need more variety acts. But if they use the expression "Did America get it right?" and I think we're a little above America getting it right, not totally, but kind of above average. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay, so is it 8 solo singers and 2 groups?
Yeah, I just put singers as a whole. So you have Lincoln Bridge, that's a group,
Right.
and
Okay.
musicality, that's a group.
Because I heard people say 8 before, but it makes more sense to put them like that.
Yeah, I put singing as a group.
So, episode 1, there's 5 of them, and then I guess 2 in week 2. So, yeah, that sounds like a lot. Both of the episodes are going to be half singing groups, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was geared more in let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. I thought I saw more in the first week than in the second week, but it looks like you're right. It's about half and half, which is the way it kind of should be. It should kind of be divided up, especially singing groups should be divided up like that.
Yeah, how interesting would it be if they put them all in their own episode, though?
Just have singing and then everybody else. That would be
Yeah.
kind of interesting, yeah. Because since you have so many singing groups, they could have their own show.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm seeing what you were saying about changing the format. Like, it feels like we have to narrow them down, so it's weird times.
Yeah.
I hope this isn't what it's like every year now that Simon's here.
Yeah, I know. And then would you divide up individual singers with singing groups? Edgar's also a singing group. So
I don't know. I mean, I'm not even sure we can fit all of them into one episode, so.
well, I'm excited for the semifinals. Are you ready for the semifinals?
Yeah, it's so good to be back. Obviously, we have a lot to say on this, so I think we're both very much looking forward to the exciting things that will be happening.
Yeah, this has been a really long episode, and we really appreciate anyone that's been able to stick it out this long and wade through all of our wish list and review. But we've just had a lot to talk about since we've been on break. I know we did 2 podcasts, but we've just got a lot we want to go through. We should be back to kind of a normal length next week with the semifinals coming in. But anyone that's kind of stuck it out, we'd really like to hear from you. Do you have anything else you want to say on the shows or the acts or anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So again, if you're still listening to us, great. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. You can find us at AGTcast. We also have an email address at agtcast@gmail.com. We'd really appreciate it as well if you'd go out and review us on iTunes. We will read your review. If you leave us a review, we'll read it. We'd appreciate a 5-star one, but if you leave us a 1-star and give us some feedback, we'd appreciate that as well. So, anything else? Anything else you got for tonight?
If anyone out there knows John Costello, president of Global Marketing and Innovation for Dunkin' Donuts, get in touch because we'd love to have Dunkin' Donuts as a sponsor. But until then, buy nothing from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I drive by Dunkin' Donuts every day on my way to work. Never stopped.
You're doing us a favor.
Well, for our longest podcast in the history of forever of this podcast, we really appreciate it. And until next week, have a good night or good morning or good afternoon or whatever you're listening to us.
Bye, everybody.